Hello there everyone, welcome back. It's time to finish up the championship. As we face off against Calamar, we are doing something a little bit different. We're not facing against his Eldar this time around. We're actually going to be fighting Space Marines, and this will definitely be interesting because his Eldar playstyle kind of suggests that he's going to be trying to play more harassed space, at least if Eldar is any indication. Although it could be just a playstyle based on the race, the faction he was playing as, so I'm not really certain what to expect with Calimar's Space Marines, but I do know for a fact that the shields are capable of denying critical hits, so basically my main strategy, my main thought process is if I can keep the shields up for the entirety of at least the battle barges lock on, then I should be golden for withering a lot of his fire, outlast him as it were. Because he's going to be relying a lot on the critical hits, as the battle barge probably doesn't have nearly the firepower, at least straight up as my retribution does. So, in point blank range with armor piercing rounds available to me, I should be on top there. I should win this without too much issue, although he still has the extra 100 points, so the space station is probably going to be limited in its effectiveness rather, so it remains to be seen. I do have the bombers, or at least the fighter screen, to help deal with his boarding torpedoes. Not to mention his boarding torpedoes will be exceptionally predictable if he's fielding them, so I could kind of position myself to take account of those and just shoot them down as they fly by, and not risk getting hit by my ships. Hell, it was one of the problems I had against Gentech. The very first Space Marine match, that's not really true, it's really the second Space Marine match I played against, where I ended up running when I probably didn't need to, and quite frankly, if he's auto-casting his boarding torpedoes, they're going to go after the space station regardless, so I can kind of withhold my silent run for that reason, and just stick straight to his brace for impact, because I feel like that was one of the key factors that cost me that match. As nice as silent running is to prevent boarding torpedoes for longer range harassment, especially since I did not have my Dictator, I believe, for that matchup, I'm pretty certain it was the 2 times in the Overlord for that. Or the Retribution, rather. I could be wrong, though. Either way, I should be safe from his boarding torpedoes just because they're going to keep going after the space station regardless. He's not going to be prioritizing them very much. Unless there's some weird change with the AI, how it targets and prioritizes the autocast boarding torpedoes, then I should not have much to worry about. But, as I said before, 700 points, I'm seeing these ships fly on in. I'm kind of assuming, first glance, is that he's fielding 4 strike cruisers, because, well, I could be wrong. Actually, I'm wrong. I'm thinking 600 points there. But I'm feeling like it's 4 strike cruisers a little bit. And as the ships start spraying out from each other there from the speed difference, it turns out they're actually 2 vanguards, a battle barge, and a strike cruiser. An interesting composition for what would be a siege of a space station, mind you. I think he would need more raw firepower to kind of complement that pretty well, but hell, he could still kind of get away with 2 strike cruisers and a Gladius, maybe 2, depending on what kind of strike cruisers he fields. But apparently, as strange as it may sound, he doesn't actually have boarding torpedoes, I guess, because he's just dumbfiring these shots at me there, which kind of works well for me. It works really damn well for me there. Just gotta be careful about not taking too many torpedo hits as I try and face this Overlord in a way to minimize the damage. But as you can see, the battle barge and the strike cruiser's torpedo salvos are quite vastly different, whereas it was a nice window for the first salvo that came in. This one's, I just have to rely on shooting him down. And even with the fighters there, mainly because I'm a little bit too far ahead from the station there, I take a notable amount of hits. But on the plus side, to make things in my favor as far as the torpedo wars, he has very little. Hell, he doesn't even have any Stormhawks available. He did not choose to get that upgrade, and apparently instead opted, at least for one of his ships, to get the auger probe. Yeah, the recon probe. I'm getting the names mixed up a little bit between those 2 upgrades, but he has forfeited the Stormhawks a little bit, I think. I do see 1 squadron on the battle barge, but I think that's pretty much it, I believe. So I could still win the torpedo wars with my Dictator just providing so much more defense. And again, I talked about the boarding torpedoes. Apparently he decided to juke me a little bit there, but at least this time I have full value of my fighters available. They shot down the Thunderhawks, they shot down any Stormhawks that were in range, and now I'm about to shoot down all these torpedoes. We are in a bit of an awkward spot, though. Just a tiny bit of an awkward spot as the stasis bomb comes on up, but I got tricks up my sleeve here. I got tricks up my sleeve with the Auger Disruptor. And so long as I stay outside this beacon, I should be golden to do some free damage. I still don't have my brace for impact, but unlike before, I actually have a way to get value out of the brace for impact. As he comes in close, he comes in aggressively. I may have poked up a little too much. I might be within reach of the beacon, which could cost me a little bit here. And even with the stasis bomb, I'm still going to take a little bit of damage if I'm identified. Really hard to say because the visual effects of the recon probe is actually different than where its actual placement is. If I were to rotate the camera or move the camera in any way, it would look like it's in a different spot than it actually is. He does throw down a second beacon though. Throws down a second beacon and it sticks onto one of my overlords, so I'm not going to be high anytime soon, but we got ourselves a little bit of free shots in. We denied another good salvo of the boring torpedoes. And we're in point blank range for the armor piercing rounds. While not all that useful for the Dictator, it's definitely going to be useful for the Overlord and the Retribution at least. Definitely damn useful, and I'm paying close attention to this battle barge. I see it's locked on. I'm trying to ram its prow a little bit to kind of keep in an awkward position to ideally not get hit by its broadsides as well, but that backfires a tiny bit with the Retribution. At least a tiny bit. As he continues to ram me there with his vanguards. He has the armor for it, mind you, but he is kind of losing this attrition war because of the health pool difference. As I do warp out the Retribution, save it for the final match, the rounds 3 if we get it rounds 3, and his ships are really damn crippled. One good torpedo on either the Vanguard or the Strike Cruiser pretty much will be the end of it, but we're going to try and turn our attention to his battle barge as his shields are currently down. It's the only one with his shields actually down. I'm trying to save my bombers for a window to destroy the rest of his fleet. Because I still have the Dictator. It launched his bombers momentarily. To little effect unfortunately. But his vanguards are just committing kamikaze at this point. They're just basically committing kamikaze. One good ram, especially with this Overlord, will be the end of it. And actually, he helps me a little bit by turning my broadside to the Vanguard, so it's just going to burn to death at this point. And as probably clumsy, as sloppy as that may have seemed, with his aggressive attrition war, I basically come out on top, even without the brace for impact. I basically come out on top there. His battle barge is practically going to just burn to death. My space station is still at full health, and I make sure he gets the final point as I ram the battle barge. He had no favors on any of the ships though, so I'm not getting rid of anything really drastic because he still has a battle barge. He still has 2 strike cruisers, 3 strike cruisers even, with favors intact, favors available, so I didn't get anything that would stick until after the next match if I can kill any more of his ships, so if nothing else, we have the victory to try and play a little more risky. Play a little more destroying his key ships, ideally. And there's something of note. Lost in warp effect on the goddamn Retribution. Don't tell me how this happens, folks. The frantic, angry mouse pointer cannot lie. I think there's a 0.1% chance that I could still suffer lost in warp effect, but with the heavily damaged, that just means my Retribution is out for the entirety of this bout. I do not even have a backup fleet, so if I were to somehow lose my overlords, then I lose a lot of my main power. So, what happens here, when he decides to pick an assassination mission, I decide to instead try something a little bit different. Mainly because I have no idea if he's going to be going with his vanguards, kind of like cheese the assassination mission or not, by kiting me all day until the warp jump comes off cooldown. But I decide to field my Dauntlesses. I'm going to be fielding all my Dauntlesses there. Handful of Firestorms. Well, actually, I take that back. I'm going to be fielding 3 Dauntlesses. One of which is the Lance Fairies, I believe. And then, nothing but Firestorms to back him up. I'm completely forfeiting raw firepower and just going to try and expect him to go with the Vanguards, as I mentioned. He still has 2 Vanguards that he can use as the Admiral ship, if nothing else, so at least this way it gives me the ability to hunt him down reasonably well, especially with my Lance Dauntless, because it does have the Medusa drive pattern engines. What is it? Pattern drive, I believe it is. I keep switching it backwards for some reason. Nonetheless, it goes 212 speed. It's basically the same speed as the Vanguard, so it can reasonably hunt them down really damn well. I just gotta make sure it can do the damage it needs to, because it's also gonna be the only ship that can hunt them down effectively. Maybe if I get a couple lucky torpedoes, I can soften them up really well, but thankfully, I don't have to deal with chasing down Vanguards. He has decided to go straight up with his second battle barge, and I'm still okay with this. I am still damn okay with this, because after all, it means he's not going to run away. He's got a lot of vulnerable ships there, especially if he decides to field any of his strike cruisers, so I'm going to really try to take out those strike cruisers with this fleet. Hell, I rotate the camera for once so that way I can get separate groupings for this frigate fleet, be able to control them and keep them in a box formation really damn easy. That's at least how I normally play with Eldar whenever I do like the frigate swarms now, so this is my idea. I'm going to push at him aggressively. I'm assuming he's going to be deploying one of the corners there, but no. He decides for some reason to stay in the middle to fight me straight up. And if I had my overlords, I could probably win right here, but we're in good shape. It's a best of 3 format. We just need to kill a handful of his ships. That's all we need to do. Ideally, kill both his strike cruisers so that way he has no backbone, no support structure for that battle barge, and that will leave that thing so isolated, so vulnerable. Because the Vanguards are a little bit restricted in how they can do damage, especially if he's going for like the Lance or what? The Prow bombardment cannon, because again, he has to be flying towards me if he wants to hit with those things, so he doesn't have the freedom of getting optimal firepower that way. Not to mention that Vanguards are really damn easy to kill if they get too close to me, because of said Prow weaponry. So I don't think I have to worry about the Vanguards too much. It's just the strike cruisers and, if possible, do a notable amount of damage to that battle barge. And since I'm all Lance set up, almost every single one of my ships have Lances, I'm not too worried about this. But we see 2 more of his strike cruisers, and interestingly enough, he doesn't have the Chapter Master. He does not have the Chapter Master, and even more conveniently, his Chief Librarian is right in front of me to shoot at, so I just gotta burn down the one shield transfer he already expended. I have Augur Disruptor to hide my ships to an extent, so I can at least weather the storm decently well. At least the first onslaught. Weather that down, try and shoot down this, destroy the strike cruiser is probably my biggest priority. As much as I would love to kill the battle barge, I don't think that's likely because of the 1200 health. And a bunch of frigates that have no upgrades on them, so this is definitely a different style. We go headlong into a ramming fest, which actually is an equal trade considering we have the same health pool, so I happily take him on that offer. And now opens up a world of hurt with all these other lances he's about to take. He's got like, what, 7 lances that he's about to take on the rear. All of them penetrates his armor because he does not have a brace for impact available. For some reason he decided to do a reload right there, so bit weird, bit odd. Gotta try and keep these ships alive as much as possible, because I'm aiming to destroy both the strike cruisers if possible. That's what I'm aiming for. And let's see, I don't have any more Augur Disruptors, so the assault running is no longer needed, so I go full on lock on with the frigates. Especially since it's apparent that the Dauntlesses are the main priority at this point. I just gotta do a really damn good job of preventing these things from getting rammed. Ooh, and look at all those critical hits. Apparently lock on is valuable, because we just got a destruction on the prow, 4 fires, so not too bad for what? A 1% chance to critically hit with lances? I'm pretty certain that's what the frigate lance's critical hit is. 2% if you lock on, so we got damn lucky on those fire results. Not that they would have done a whole lot on their own. It was already about to die. Now comes the part of destroying the second strike cruiser. Try as I might to dodge this, we're still going to lose something, I think. We're still going to lose something in this frantic rush. As I try and fly away from the battle barge, we only lose 1 frigate, which is good. Damn good result considering that could have been so much more worse. So much more worse, but we're not in a good position to keep keep hounding this damn strike cruiser because it's flying away from me. Battle barge is in the way with close range bombardment cannons, so these swords are not long for this world just yet. They're pretty much going to get shot down relatively quickly with a couple of lucky hits. Because he's still, even at this range, it's still a 60% chance to hit these frigates. If I could get outside 6,000 units, then I'd be in good shape of dodging and surviving. As it stands now, I'm relying solely on these torpedoes probably to do the damage they need to. And I get one good solid hit in, but with engines gone, this battle barge have committed to its micro warp jump, so it's kind of a weird thought. I question this a little bit, because he does destroy the prow, which justifies his decision to not warp out the battle barge and just end the mission, but if those torpedoes were still up, there was a real risk of him losing that strike cruiser, so I seriously question his motion, his strategy here right now, because he could have saved that, and as it stands now, with the engine gone, with the torpedoes gone, it will survive. Because 3 firestorms are all that's left, one of which I completely forgot about in the middle of the map there, in that frantic rush of dodging the battle barge, trying to minimize the damage. I kind of left one back. So I don't think there's much hope of destroying this thing or even heavily damaging it, so we're just going to save time since he didn't just want to warp on out to go to the final match and see the conclusion to this epic battle. Okay, so it's like I said, got myself defeated there. It was a damn good job though. I got the one ship I needed, and that was the Chief Librarian Strike Cruiser. If nothing else, that was a damn successful mission there. Although I probably would have liked to keep the Lance Dauntless available for maybe the final match, because I could still utilize its Auger Disruptor, its Lance. Its potential is pretty damn effective. Will be useful for Space Marines, I want to argue. But no, it does not survive, and excuse me. We are moving on to the final match, Cruiser Clash, and I don't have my Retribution this time, which is a little bit unfortunate, so we're going to rely on the Overlords this time around. And with the Dictator also gone, I'm going to have just raw firepower for this matchup, I think. Oh, never mind, Dictator's alive. For some reason I thought it got destroyed from being rammed, because I remember him trying to ram it with the Vanguard, so I guess it did survive. Nonetheless, the Retribution is not in play. Hell, I ignored the Dictator altogether and going full on out with the firepower as I said before. We're going full on macro batteries, we have 2 power rams, and 2 Auger Disruptors, which is going to be something he's probably not prepared for. He does have beacons, he does have recon probes, so I do need to be careful about that. Having to be in the gas cloud right in the beginning to kind of like deny my cover, I kind of need to bait him out, or bait the beacon when I'm outside the cloud is really what I need to do, more than anything. So with this layout, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to be near the 2 gas clouds on the left, mainly the one in the middle of the map, or was in a corner in the middle, and just stay on the outskirts of that, and then use that as my fallback point. That's going to be the idea anyway. Because as I said before, try and force the 1, maybe 2 beacons he might have. I seen only, well yeah, he did have 2 in the first match. It remains to be seen if he has any more since I destroyed a handful of his ships, but ideally, that's the plan. That is the plan there. So, otherwise it's just a matter of figuring out where he's going to be. There's no obvious layout, and apparently he's going to field on the opposite side of the map there. Which actually works for me relatively well, because again, he does not have very much in Stormhawks for defense, so there is a lot of possibility for torpedo damage if I can aim this properly. It is a bit of a long shot though, but with the speed increase that should help a little bit. As of once again, it seems like he's going with the strike cruisers, battle barge, and 2 Vanguards. This time he has the, what is it? I'm trying to mix up these 2. Recon probe's the one that sticks, and Auger probe is the moving one, I think. I honestly need to look at these names so I can memorize them. I keep having this problem. First it's the Chaos battleships, now it's the probes. This is just getting worse and worse. I need to be checked, I think. This heresy will not stand, but nonetheless, I do have to adjust my plans a little bit, so I'm going to hug the corner of the map a little bit more to dodge this first beacon. Just dodge it, avoid having to deal with the boarding torpedoes and force a premature assault run. I kind of would like to prefer that, since I don't have the Dictator this time around to kind of like add that little bit of assurance of protection. We're just going for raw firepower here as I try and line up my torpedoes together. It's a little bit awkward though, because it's not It's not convenient. I have to. The one on the left is actually the last cruiser, so I have to tab multiple times to get that consistency. So it was a lot more difficult than it seemed there, trying to tab through multiple times. And even then, I didn't get the perfect shot I would like. But it's close enough. It's close enough to get at least overwhelm the point defense to an extent. That's the hope anyway. But what I'm facing is proud of me. The damage is going to be pretty minimal. We do get one hit on the Vanguard, one hit on the Strike Cruiser, and I don't know about the Battle Barge just yet, but so long as we're forcing repairs, we're doing gold. We're doing damn good. We're doing damn good. Now I have the opportunity to boost on forward because instead of a silent run, I do have this gas cloud. And I know he burnt his torpedoes, so he doesn't have any boarding torpedoes available by the time I get in the cover again. So this is a safe maneuver. This is a damn safe maneuver, although he does see what I'm fielding, though. Which probably isn't too much of a surprise. The lack of a dictator could be something he could abuse, though. It could be. With his Thunderhawks and all that available, he has a lot of potential Thunderhawks he could send at me. Well, really, it's just the Battle Barge's Thunderhawks, because he made it apparent that the Strike Cruiser has torpedoes and... who am I kidding? He has He does have 2 Vanguards still, right? Yeah, I destroyed 2 in the first match, so yeah, he still has 2 Thunderhawks from that, so I'm completely wrong. He could abuse that. If it was just a Battle Barge, maybe it would not be so difficult. Or so much of an issue. But nonetheless, his Recon Probe, his Auger Probe comes on out. I have a Gas Cloud to easily prepare for that, and best of all, I have Auger Disruptor at the ready. And hell, quite frankly, I think this Stasis Bomb that he's dropping is going to be helping me some. Because it's going to slow down the Thunderhawks even more. It gives me a window to protect myself from the torpedoes a tiny bit. And I have 4 Lances that are unhindered by a Stasis Bomb. I just got to make sure my Tyrant is able to contribute at least, if nothing else. And I love this crisscross with the torpedoes, but sadly, it's not going to be ideal. Only one of those salvos is going to actually hit the Vanguard. Ooh, and what damage does it do? 2 hits, 1 gets blocked, unfortunately. And we are ready for the Auger Disruptor. The first one goes off, I jammed the first 3, we are completely hitting. Although with these boring torpedoes coming and already have their heading set up, I'm probably not going to dodge these very well for the Tyrant. So it needs to boost on out really damn quickly. But he's completely blind until the Battle Barge gets on in, so I'm getting free damage, and even better, he's going to oblige me with the armor-piercing round range. This is going to be brutal. Just look at that Vanguard melt. Sure, it's 75 armor. Most of those shots probably not quite armor-piercing range, but it's going to die relatively quickly. A second Auger Disruptor comes on out, and without even burning a solid run, we are completely hitting. This gotta be the best feeling in the world, I gotta say. Nearly 50 seconds of free damage, practically. Although he is still spying me to a limited extent, with being too close to his ships, but I am actually doing a good job of denying his lock-on because of this jamming. I am doing a good job with that, and I still have supercharged void shields, I still have shield transfers for that, so at the very least it reduces demand I need. And as I try to shield transfer at the last second, before ideally shields went down, I have to burn a second one just to be safe. Just to get those shields back up for the Overlord. I'm pretty certain it's the Overlord. It's really hard to tell these two apart, because the Lances are not actually the most convenient to see until they start firing. Nonetheless, this is a damn formidable close-range fleet. They have almost identical firepower. Tyrant is a little more better in close range because it has the stronger macro batteries for close range, and the Overlords are damn good at chipping them down. Lots of harassment fire at range while still being really vicious and close, especially now that all of them have the armor-piercing rounds. And I do have the power ram to also utilize, but with the Battle Barge it's probably not worth it. I'm just on equal footing there. Ramming the Vanguards and the Strike Cruisers, that was a damn good idea if I could think of it. But so far, damage is going out well. We're trying to focus down on either Strike Cruiser and Battle Barge. Ideally get between both of them to maximize my fire potential. Ideally. As we're doing a damn good job as well. The Tyrant's going to get his ram in. Brace for impact will make this worthwhile. 95 armor resistance. But ramming into my Overlord, probably not so much a good idea. But the battle barge is about to go down, so with the point blank shots, with the arm piercing rounds, this thing's going down. It's gonna die. It just requires one more torpedo shot. One more torpedo shot or even a ram's all I need. So I go in for the attack run, strike cruisers down. We get the torpedo just at the last second. Ooh, and a beautiful salvo it is. More of the story though, that's like the best value I could get out of that auger disruptor, I gotta say. God damn. That felt good there. All my ships are intact, none of them are heavily damaged. And we just destroy the Space Marine at their own game pretty much. A little bit. Although again, I would argue I have the better close range potential, even with a battle barge. And with him talking about these bugs, I'm seriously wondering if these bugs he was talking about was the fact he could not shoot me. That's what I'm really curious about. Although there is possibility with the selection bug, being able to move your ships around. I had that a good handful of times, but I seriously wonder if the bugs he's referring to was the fact that I was auger disrupting him, keeping him from shooting at me entirely. Because he may not be aware of that, I'm not sure. It's not like auger disruptor is a very common upgrade, but damn did it work good for this match. Did it work well. 50 seconds, almost completely free of taking damage outside maybe a few torpedoes that were already chasing after my tyrant. And we were pretty golden there. I didn't even have to burn my silent running, which just emphasizes how beautiful that was. But on to the last match of this tournament for me. So it's like I said, I had 2 matches left for the series, this championship, before calling a wrap on my end. And this is going to be a short one, I'm not going to lie. We're fighting up against the Golden Fairy, I think his name is. Yeah, it cuts out his name, so I'm honestly not sure. He is apparently the 2nd ranked player as the championship is over, so what does this entail, I wonder? It feels like I'm going to get stomped. That's what it feels like if it's so late. If I'm going to be squeezing this match in after fighting Calamar, but this will be an interesting little matchup. Nonetheless, because I'm going to be feeling the retribution, I'm going to be feeling the tyrants. I have no idea what he's feeling here, but I did play against him once, and that was one of the matches I choose not to upload because it was a really weird one. Because even though I did lose the first round when he was doing some weird water cache thing, I did lose that first battle, a cruiser clash, so I wasn't quite prepared for his strategy. It was a really weird one, needless to say, but even after losing that first round, for some reason, he decided to concede on me before I selected the second match. Either that or his game crashed. I'm not entirely certain what happened. And there was a window where I had 3, maybe 4 matches where during the first match or even after the first match, I had people constantly conceding on me, or at least disconnecting. It was a really weird thing. Because especially, like I said, I lost the first round against Golden Fairy here. Victore, I don't know how he would probably want to be pronounced. So, nonetheless, this will be a good rematch for me, I feel like, because I feel like I was robbed an opportunity to fight him straight up. Because, like I said, we only had a first round there. It's a weird one. Couldn't quite figure out a strategy because, again, he had a bunch of water cache ships there. He had a crap ton of the down Nikasar. If I had just played slow and passive, instead of the aggressive-minded play as I was doing before, I probably could have just shot them down one by one. I don't know what to make of that strategy there, but in this case, we're looking at 9 ships. So, what he's feeling this time, folks, is actually going to be the Custodian and a handful of other frigates, messengers, I believe. Because I'm going to notice the messenger in a moment, or the Custodian in a moment, because you can see his fighters out. Once I notice it, so yeah, we got a Protector, we got a Custodian, and the rest are probably going to be messengers, I want to say. I want to say the rest are messengers, unless he snuck in another Dalef, which then brings flashbacks to the last episode where I had to chase down Solare's fleet. That's good. That's bringing back bad memories for me, I gotta say. But hopefully that's not going to happen. Hopefully it's not going to happen, although with the structure in the way, in the middle of the map, it's really difficult to get an actual angle, a good angle on the Custodian, so we're going to be having to focus on the frigates a little bit, I think, because again, even with the fighters, the torpedoes are more or less going to get blocked by a structure until I can get around it. And hell, with him moving directly forward, he's still in the way of this, with the structure, so My damage potential is pretty limited since the frigates are going to have an easy time dodging my torpedoes anyway. Not to mention the fact it's still a question if he's just going to commit suicide with them like Solare does. Still a question of that, but I got Overlords, I got Lances, I'm all prepared for this. I am all prepared for this. And I thought I was going with the Retribution and Titus there because that's a lot of raw firepower. But I honestly don't know my thought process there. It's been a few days. It's been a while since I actually played this match, so I'm not sure what my thought process was. I'm kind of convinced he wasn't going Earth caching at least, so I'm kind of expecting more of what I saw before. But when I find out he's air cache, though, then I can play a little more comfortably because I am kind of used to that by now. I am kind of used to air cache, and I don't have to worry about his burst potential, his extra firepower. With the experimental railgun, apparently he does have messengers, which is another weird choice that I have to question, because he does have a custodian, right? That's like 6,000 unit range of being able to have double effectiveness against these torpedoes, and hell, his messenger did absolutely nothing there because he took like 4 torpedoes to the face. 4 torpedoes on that messenger, and it survived due to brace for impact and not so much the reroll. Nonetheless, we're going to be hiding in this gas cloud as normal there. The strategy remains the same. I'm stumbling my words a lot and I hate it. But we're going to have an easy deflection of these Manta Bombers. Easy deflection. No silent run necessary. No jamming required. And with him boosting the custodian forward, we're going to get some free damage in at long range. Only downside is my second Overlord's a little bit too far away to contribute with his lance fire. A little bit out of range to contribute to lance fire as I am squandering my control a little bit. I almost flew the Overlord out of the boundary of the map there when I'm trying to get into the gas cloud. So, I see the air cache favor. I immediately go to my defensive mode here rather than aggressive play. He did waste 1 beacon, so unless the Protector has another one, I'm really confident in my ability to just outlast him here. The supercharged void shield comes on up. I have shield transfers available when necessary. But I'm watching for the damn Manta Bombers once I do get revealed. As just to make sure I get full value out of the Auger Disruptor, I do push this thing forward. I may have activated the jammer a little too early because that Protector I think is now within range to at least spot my Dauntless. Nope, I'm wrong. It doesn't have extend sensors, but I do see the Protector. I'm not oblivious to this, and quite frankly, I have 3 Auger Disruptors available too, so you know what that means, folks. Air cache ship, he's all about cutting, he's all about dodging me. You know exactly what this Custodian's going to do with his Micro Warp Jump, right? Guess what? 2 Auger Disruptors are up. He's completely jammed. I'm completely hitting for almost all my ships, except for this one Overlord that I just boosted on out. And we're going to try and weather him down, although he's going for ramming speed. Still going to hurt. It's going to hurt this Overlord quite a bit, but if I get that salvo off at this close of range, it's going to be worth it. I can easily trade blows for him. More torpedoes going out. I'm waiting for where the hell his bombers are. I don't see the Manta Bombers just yet. I try and ram him aside there, try and shift his focus on the other ships, because he only has 1,000 sensor range, as I am getting this Dauntless a little bit too close. Just a tiny bit too close. Although, apparently my Overlord's still hitting, so it's still paying off nicely. 3rd Auger Disruptor goes on out. We're doing amazing damage prioritizing this Custodian, and with him not able to Micro Warp Jump, he is squandering a little bit. He is floundering. He's trying to run away. I need to heavily damage this thing or get some more torpedoes, because he can get away with that speed. All I need is a couple extra torpedo hits to finish him off. That's all I really need, and while he is turning towards me there, he's giving me that opportunity I need. And I don't see any replenishment fighters, so my aggressive play is paying off with the fighters getting shot down at least. It's heavily damaged. 1 more salvo is all we need, but his Micro Warp Jump's now available. His Micro Warp Jump's now available. As we try to get 1 frantic final shot in, the Custodian finally dies. Which, while as nice and as beautiful a result as we can ask for, if that thing were to escape, how screwed am I really? Because none of its bombers got the shot down, it lost none of its essentials. We would still potentially be in the same situation as with before with Solare. But I still have my Widowmakers up. I still have both. Yeah, I have a Widowmaker and a Cobra still up. So even though I'm warped out the one Overlord unnecessarily, perhaps, with the Custodian gone, I could comfortably let it warp out just in case for when this match continues. Just to be safe. I don't want to risk ruining a random critical hit from the insubordination causing me problems. But the reason that this is so short is that he decides to just concede straight up. Just immediately. A little bit anticlimactic of an end, but hell. Imagining the fact that a lot of people may have had a lot of issue with Tau, I'm sure you could relish in that a little bit. I denied his micro warp jump. He did not know how to deal with it, which probably means I just got lucky in that match. Because next time, if I were to ever face him, I probably would not be so lucky. But I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate Tau being put in their place, being humbled a little bit. But as it stands now, he just concedes. Which leads me to the end of my championship series as Imperial Navy. I really do hope these, 25, 27 matches that I brought to you have been good. They have been enjoyable, especially for you people that have been wanting me to play Imperial Navy for a while. I hope, if nothing else, you got more than what you bargained for. You got more than what you want. Because otherwise, it probably wouldn't have been progression. It definitely was not expected to be a championship series, mind you. So you got a lot out of this, and I'm hopeful that I did the Imperial Navy proud for you. And what's going to happen next is I'm probably going to get on back to my Eldar at some point. I'm going to take maybe a day or two off there from videos for now. And I'm going to be looking to do some Twitch streaming of my Eldar play, trying to relearn them. And then I'm going to dive back into rank mode, hopefully, knowing what the hell I'm going to be doing with Eldar of all things. This is going to be a bold new world for me, I think. Thank you all to everyone who tuned in, who watched through the entirety of the championship. My one regret was not being consistent in the performance of these videos, because some of these videos were rushed. Some of them were forced, where I didn't have time to do it effectively. I had to make myself do it. But I hope you enjoyed every single match. Thank you all again.